Hey, good morning. Good morning. How's it going? It's morning for me right now. Early in the AM. I'm Bob. Work hard, play hard. Inviting you to find a design that speaks to you. Cheers. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. Today, I'm going to be talking about how I wrote, or at least give you the outline on how I wrote or started and finished 2 books. I'm going to showcase 2. I've written more than that. But I haven't really done anything major with some of the other stuff. And I'm still sitting on some stuff. We're going to talk about these 2 books right now. And I want to go into a story about the first book that I wrote, and then the second, and then we'll get into how you can take advantage of some of the ideas and little tips that worked for me. So the first book I wrote was when I got out of the car rental business. I was in the car rental business for about 10 years, and oh, that's some good stuff. In that time, I learned a few things. So when I got out of the car rental business, and I remember being a customer at one time, and I overpaid. I didn't know any better at the time. I wasn't in the car rental business at that time. So that did stick with me, you know, whenever you feel like you overpaid something, it sticks with you. So when I got into the business and I learned all about it, and then I got out, I decided to help people. And I wanted to help people, and I wanted to help the company as well. I had a marketing strategy, didn't come to fruition the way I wanted it to, but it was a fun project. And what I wanted to do is provide the book, How to Save Big Money on Car Rentals, uncovering secrets they don't want you to know. And I want you to showcase the book, because not only is it going to help the customer a little bit, learn a few tricks and what they could do to save a couple bucks for themselves, I thought it was goodwill for whatever rental car company that would provide it. And I know it sounds silly now to say it, looking back, companies wanting to give away money, but to me at the time, goodwill meant more than that. So, and I built my agencies on goodwill. I treated each customer as if they were a very important part of my business, because they were, and it started from there. That was the first book I wrote, and I'll get into some marketing things what I did later on in this video. But for right now, that was the first book I wrote because I had something inside me and I knew I wanted to do something. The second book I wrote was called You Started for a Reason. I had a lot of fun writing this book because it was a labor of love. I titled it and I ran with the tag of You Started for a Reason. Looking back now, I probably would have did things a little bit differently. That's fine. Not everything is perfect. You know, you don't always make the right decision. Sometimes you just have to make a decision and then try to make it right, and it can be done. But in any event, I took it pretty far. I had a lot of fun with it. I built my Facebook page around it. What was the most fun in writing that book was creating the cartoons for each chapter of the book. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run right now a B-roll for you to see all the cartoons, because I put something together and you can have that and just watch that. It's about 1.5 minutes. Enjoy that, and I'm going to come right back to you. All right, so let's get into it. How can you start and finish this project without it becoming an overwhelming task? The first thing I want you to do is, if you've never sat down and decided to move forward with a book because it seemed that it was too daunting or outside of your purview to understand, just sit down with a pencil and pad of paper, and I want you to jot down ideas. The best way to come up with an idea is to start where you are. So wherever you are in your life, I'm sure that you've developed some kind of a technique for something, whether it be gardening or fishing or bowling. I don't care what it is. There's something inside you. Maybe that you know something about running an auto mechanic shop that nobody else does. Whatever it is, okay, you have something inside you, and there are no wrong ideas. So I want you to get your pad, your paper, just start writing ideas down. This idea, that idea. And you get about 5, maybe 10 ideas. 5 is good. You stop there and then narrow it down and pick one. Pick one that you feel that you could have a nice long conversation on with yourself for the purpose of putting it into a book form or a PDF downloadable book form. So that's the first thing I would do. Get yourself a pad, paper, write down some ideas. Get about 5 ideas, pick one. And then we're going to move on to the next phase, which is creating the chapters. So creating chapters can be fun. Okay, this is where fun can happen. What you want to do is, now that you've picked that one idea that you decided, okay, this is going to be my book, this is what I'm going to talk about, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to sit down, fresh piece of paper, fold it over, get a new piece of paper going, and I want you to write down on top of that what it is that you're working on. So you pick that one idea, whatever it is. In my case, my first book was How to Save Big Money on Car Rentals, Uncovering Secrets they don't want you to know. That was it. That was my title and subtitle. Okay, so in any event, what I want you to do is write down 5 to 10 things that you could talk about. For my sake, give you an example. In a car rental business, one thing is gas service options. Nobody even knew what a gas service option was, so I had that to talk about. How about the insurance coverage? That was one. Insurance replacement, that was another. And it goes down like that. Upgrades, and then how to do this and how to do that. And there's ways to build this thing, but we start first with the idea. So get about 5 to 10 ideas, write those down, because those are going to be things to talk about, or chapters, if you will. All right, so get that going, and we're going to go on to the next phase, which is how to build a healthy obsession so you can finish this thing. This is fun. This is the fun part. Give yourself permission. Most people don't feel they're able or they're worthy. Well, you're both. You can do anything you want until you leave this planet. So for 90 days, why don't you just become obsessed every day a little bit? Give yourself 15 minutes to an hour, all right? If it goes to an hour, great. But if it's only 15 minutes, that's fine too. But sit down every single day with each chapter that you've come up with and write as much as you can. Talk about it as much as you can. And if you have nothing else to say, stop. Move on to the next chapter that you wrote down. And you might get 200 words one day, then you might get 400 words the next day, and each one starts building out separately, but by the time you're done, you might have 3 to 5 pages for each chapter. So it can grow pretty fast if you sit with it, but what you're going to have to do is give yourself the gift of being obsessed. Everybody says be disciplined. I don't like that. I like allowing myself to be obsessed. I think that you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I like being obsessed, so I get it done, and I have fun doing it. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to have fun doing it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be great. If it comes out of you, you never know where it's going to go. Give yourself the gift of follow through, by being a little obsessed and have fun being obsessed. And you say, just put it on the calendar for 90 days. In 90 days, I'm going to be this person. You know, if you stop and think about it, a lot of these actors and people out there in the world that really dive deep, like Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis dives very deep into his characters, and he becomes that person for a while, and that takes a lot of energy. So he realizes that there's an end period of this energy exchange. So he puts it all in, and then boom, disappears. So just give yourself 90 days of getting crazy over it, and then let it go for a little bit. And that brings us to our next phase of this, which is how to know when you're done with it. Well, proofread, proofread, proofread. That's the first thing I'm going to tell you. When you're done with this project, it doesn't take that long to get to, but when you're done with this project, you're going to want to, okay, the reality of it is you might be kind of sick of looking at it. That plays a part in people quitting because they get sick of looking at it. And that's the part of character. You know, the person who finishes doing the thing long after the emotion that prompted you to start doing the thing fades away. Finishing, even then, when it's not, you know, like 100% like it was in the beginning. It's not going to be. You're growing here and you're evolving. You're going to evolve with your art as your art evolves. As you evolve, your art evolves. So just get this first one out. Doesn't have to be perfect, all right? And now you need to read it, and then read it again, and then read it again, and then have a friend read it, someone you trust. If they give you some insights, that's fine. You don't have to take them and do anything with them. Just whatever. Oh, that's a good idea. I might even do that in the next book. Whatever. I have a story to share with you. And at the time, this is back in 2009, maybe 8, 7, I don't know. It's a long time ago. And I had a book, the first book I wrote. Took me kind of a bit to get through to it, and I finally felt like it was time to pull the trigger and have them print one before we go forward and print a bunch. Got the book, proofread it when I got it, you know, because you want to make sure that there are no changes, all that kind of thing. You just want to definitely proofread it again when you get it. And I brought it to my friend, and I said, look at that. And she's like, oh, this is great. And she opened it up, and it took her all of 15 seconds to find one word that was not supposed to be there. But it was supposed to say, and you could save when you do this on a 1-week rental. But it said, and you could save when you do this on a 1-weed rental. That was hilarious. I laughed, we laughed. I said, you can't look at it anymore because I don't want you to find anything else. But I let her proofread it though. There was nothing really else there other than a couple things, small minor things. But that was a big thing, don't you think? So definitely proofread your stuff. Don't be afraid to get sick of looking at it. And when you are sick of looking at it, you're in the right space. You're doing it right. Okay, now we're at the last phase here, which is, should I publish it myself or should I do traditional publishing? You know, I'm not the person to ask that question. As much as I would like to research it and read what you could research yourself to you, rather I let you do that. If you're serious about doing this and you've gone through all these steps and you actually got something in front of you that you feel like you want to put forward in the world, I think it's worth doing a little bit of research on your end to see if maybe self-publishing is better than traditional, or maybe traditional publishing is better than self, or maybe just doing self-publishing and making it strictly an ebook download, or all of it. So what I'm saying is, I originally went with self-publishing on the first book. I didn't think that at the time I was knowledgeable to know what not to do. So I felt like I had maybe been taken advantage of a little bit. You don't know what you don't know until you learn it. And the second part was the second book. I self-published myself, I put it out there, and I got the information into the people hands that wanted it. And that to me made me feel good. And nobody here set the world on fire, but it was a lot of fun. And that leads us into the very last part of this, after you actually get everything published and you got your copies, or you can have your copies printed or downloaded and you're just ready to roll. You've done everything. You created the cover, you made that work, you got it all done, right? And I could have went into doing the cover, and you can look that up. YouTube, how to make a good book cover. You could do that yourself. You need to get this thing out of you and on to some kind of a printed format and in front of you. So now we go into marketing your creation. Congratulations. Now we're going to start marketing. This too is going to be where I become a finger for you, okay? I'm going to point you in the right direction. If you look in the description area, you're going to find links that are going to point you in the direction of getting some information with marketing your book. I'm not a professional marketer. I'm not great at sales. I don't even know how many people are going to watch this video, but you got to start somewhere. And I just like doing these things because it gives me an opportunity to share myself with my future grandchildren that I may or may not ever meet. If you think of it like that, everybody has something inside to share, right? Especially now. So with that, let's talk about the marketing aspects. So the first thing I did when I got the first book, I had it ready. I had everything in front of me. You could purchase it at my website at the time that I had. I had everything organized the way I wanted it for distribution. I started doing radio at the time. I started calling into the radio. Now that by itself was very interesting. I must have done about 6 or 7, maybe 8 radio interviews. Some of them were in the weirdest hours, but there was one which was a hilarious, and I don't even know if I have it uploaded, but I do know that this is what happened. Was this particular radio station was kind of like the kind of a Howard Stern type thing where they, sometimes make fun of people when they call. So their shtick was, to get people, they call them in, and here I have a book, How to Save Money on Car Rentals. Who gives a shit about that? Nobody gives a shit about that. What I do, because I'm trying to help people, hey, I got this thing and maybe you might want to use it. It has saved people money, so I'm happy about that. But in any event, so these guys have me on the radio station, and I'm on there and I'm talking to them, and they're asking me questions, and they're coming at me with a very strange way of trying to get me to react in a certain way, or ask me some strange questions, and I was just kind of cool about it. I wasn't fake. I was just me, being me, and we got through it, and I still had it playing on my laptop at the time, so I could hear them, in between commercial or after commercial. So I hung up the phone and I had that going, and I could hear them come after commercial, and what they do is they usually rib on people. So the dude's like starting to talk about me, and she goes, yeah, but he was such a nice guy. He goes, yeah, he was really a nice guy. Let's get him back on the phone. They call me back, and we do another 15, 20 minutes on the book. So you never know. Be yourself, be cool. You never know where that's going to take you, right? So there's that story. So yeah, so I did a lot of radio interviews in the beginning. Then I get this email from NBC that Jeff Rawson wants me to be on his show in New York. He wanted to talk about car rentals, and basically his thing was he would find companies that were doing things that were not really great for the consumer, and he would expose that. His thing here was car rental cleanliness, so he was trying to expose that some of these places don't clean the cars properly, and this is before, way before any of the pandemic stuff. So he was talking about germs and stuff like that, and he had me on, and I basically told him the truth. So you can see that. I'll put the links down below in the description. You can see what it was like. I also was able to do the morning blend in Milwaukee. I was a little heavier at that time. I think I was at my heaviest there. I think 220, 230, something like that. So that's never going to happen again. Thank you, Vitamix. You're my beloved. So the reason I bring that up is not to impress you, but they had me on twice. I was able to have that experience. It's a way of expressing to you that anything's possible. If you remain open and you're able to move fluidly with the opportunities that present themselves, you could just make some experiences happen. And it was, for me, a great thing to point at and say, hey, look at that, look what I did one time. Doesn't mean anything but that, and it was fun. I had a good time doing it. I met some great people. The Morning Blend, the blonde female, I think her name is Tiffany. She's friends with my cousin. Small world, man. We have a really small world. So with all that, let's talk about today's highlighted design, which is my martial arts shirt that I'm wearing right here. I talked about martial arts in the last video where I spoke with Joe. And in the beginning, I brought that up in the conversation and showed some of the pictures. So if you want, check that out. I'll put the link in below or put it up here somewhere where it pops up and you can just check out that video, last video I made. You know, martial arts is a wonderful, wonderful exercise. I actually wrote about it in You Started for a Reason. So if you want to check that out. Well, martial arts is actually a really good exercise. For me, it gave a young boy, about 15 I was, a young boy an opportunity to have a place to go and belong and actually learn something. And at the time, I've always been introverted. I'm still introverted, but I was a very introverted young boy walking down the street, and there's about 5 dudes just coming up. They're about my age or higher, and one of them in particular was a neighborhood, and we were neighborhood friends at one time, but in this particular case, the influence and where they were and having a good time being punks, they just wanted to mess with somebody. And they saw me and it's like, I'm easy to mess with. It's not what they did. They didn't really do anything. They were just messing with me. But it was the intimidation in that switched a switch off inside of me that felt like first of all, I know then and now, I don't like bullies in any way, shape, or form. Don't like bullies, never have, never will. At that time, that's what was happening. So what happened was I walked all the way from there, about a mile, to teacher. At the time, he was a high school student as well with us. He was like a year ahead of us, maybe 2 years. I think it was a year ahead of us. And he was a young entrepreneur, Tracy Thomas. This guy was phenomenal at whatever it was he was doing at the time in Taekwondo. His body was peaking. It was perfect. He was a perfect person at the time to come to. And I walked all the way to his place. I knocked on his back door and I was crying. And he just invited me in, went right downstairs, and we talked about it. And he had me sign up right away. I wanted to sign up. I talked to my mom. I told her what and why. And my mom and dad actually allowed me to join. It was like $10 a month at the time, maybe $15. It wasn't that expensive by today's standards, but back then it was expensive for my mom and dad. Any extra money going out is just money going out. So we weren't rich people. So I took advantage of that. And when I got into that, I was there early, about an hour early, and did my stretching and always watched and while I was stretching, and then did my part of the class. And I was able to get to a high red belt, but I didn't make black belt. At the time, the testing was, I think, $150, which was way too expensive for my mom and dad. So I got as high as high red, which is just below black belt. What I noticed is that when I joined Taekwondo, everybody stopped messing with me. Now, I never had to fight anybody or do anything like that. So later on in life, in my mid-20s, I ran into this guy, the guy who had instigated all those other dudes. And I asked him, I had a beer. At the time I had a beer. And I asked him, I said, hey, why did you stop messing with me all of a sudden when I joined Taekwondo? And his response was something I wasn't expecting. His response was, well, I saw you as a nerd, someone who didn't do anything, lazy. And then when you joined Taekwondo and you got really good at it, I just gained respect for you. These years later, I can look back at that and go, whatever it is in your life that you're trying to do better for yourself, you never know how and where it's becoming an inspiration. So, you know, do that thing. That's my 2 cents in that. So all these years later, does it matter? Yeah, you know, life is an experience. Carpe diem is seize the day, and every day is a new day. Even if today sucks, tomorrow's a new day. And if today's great, tomorrow's a new day. It doesn't, you know, there's no guarantees, but tomorrow's always a new day. So there you go with that. You know, the next video, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. Shoot. I know that at the end of this video, there's a bonus. There seems to be a little bit of a theme going here where I always have something at the end. So at the end of this, I have something for you. I hope it inspires you and resonates with you. What else? Yeah, the next video I'm going to do, I don't know. I mean, I have the business plan thing. I have a business. I don't know if I want to talk about that. I really, I'm not sure if I want to talk about that. But I don't know. This is Bob and I signing off for now. I work hard, play hard. I appreciate you spending time with me today, and I hope my insights help you get started in developing a book of your own. But I hope to see you in the next video soon. Take care. Enjoy. See you next time. Peace.
Hey everybody, today I decided that I was going to make a video about something that I feel is very, very, very important. This is the average life expectancy of a human being. Keep in mind this is an approximate number. It depends where you live in the world and what your lifestyle is like. So here's where you're born. Each one of these lines represents 10 years. You might live longer than that, you might live a little bit shorter than that, you never really know. You could die here, you could die here. I wanted to make this video to show you something. I hope that this video lights a fire inside of you and gets your butt in gear to pursue that thing that you've been wanting to pursue, but you keep putting off and you keep saying, oh, tomorrow, or when I have time, or when the kids are in school, or when I save up more money. Let me show you why time is so important. So in society, typically, here's what happens. We're born, we're kids, and then we're teenagers, and roughly around here, we start to work. And we work. We keep working all the way until we're 65 years old. So as you can see, that is most of your life. So it is very important to spend this time doing something that you love. Being a kid is nice. Retiring is nice. But what about the years in between? These should not be just a write-off and just waiting for Friday and just get through it and can't wait till retirement, because once those years are gone, they're gone. What I'm saying is, if you're working at a job that you hate just for a paycheck, then you need to make a change in your life. Because what we know as humans is that we live on Earth and then we die. Where we go after we die, it's up for debate. We all have different opinions on that. You get one shot, one chance, make the most of it, and make sure that you are happy with your life. Unfortunately, we don't have forever. So I didn't mean to make this to scare you. I made it to motivate you. And I want you to get after that thing that you've been wanting to do. Now is the time. Pursue it, go after it. You have nothing to lose. And make all of your years, from birth to death, meaningful, special, and purposeful.
Black, nothing in it. Love it. Okay, what's next?